Hello and welcome YouTube to my video. This is the Rage Racer. I'm here to present you a Windows 10 fix for The Sims 2. Now, those of you that know about The Sims 2 for PC and have tried to run it on Windows 10 or Windows 7 or whatever, you've probably run into a lot of fucking issues with this game. I know I have. When I've tried to run this game, I could not fucking get this game to run on Windows 10 to save my life. This game has so many fucking bugs as far as graphical glitches goes and whatnot. It crashes, it's unstable, it has issues like the pink flashing issue where everything flashes pink and you can't control it, and this is a fix for that. And I'm going to go into detail on how to apply this fix, but before we get into all of that, I want you to know that before we do this, you need to have other patches that are required for this installed already. A couple of those include the 4GB patch and the memory allocation patch, such as the empty standby list, task schedule, process, and all of that. And you need that for this game to run. If you go into your documents, you can go into a folder that says EA Games, The Sims 2, Logs, and you'll find a bunch of text files sitting right here. And we've got all these exceptions. We can delete those. These are not related. But here you should have a text that says just-pc or whatever the fuck your computer name is, because that's what it's doing. It's taking the name of your computer from your control panel and putting it here, and then putting -config-log. Open this text file. Here in my text file, as we can see, we've got application info, machine info, and etc. Right here it says memory and free memory. Both of those are set here, shown as 4096 megabytes. That means that the 4GB patch that I have applied is working and whatnot. If you have not applied this patch and it's not working, it will probably say something like 2048 or less, because the game is being limited to use only so much memory, thanks to the fact that it's a 32-bit game that was originally meant to run on a 32-bit system. Most of us are running 64-bit systems with at least like 8 or 16 or even 32 gigs of RAM, as in my case, and so you will want the 4GB patch applied to do that. Another thing is that my texture memory here is set to 2048 megabytes. There's a reason I have set it to that, and we will get to that portion later in this video. But before we do everything, I will link a video to a video made by the Jessa channel on YouTube that explains properly how to apply the 4GB patch and memory allocation fixes and whatnot. She does a good job at explaining it. She makes it easy to understand and makes it an easy to follow process to get your game working. If you've done that already, you're already a step ahead. We can move on, and I can tell you about the graphics rules maker, which is another thing that you want before we do this. It is on the simsnetwork.com and is a tool that allows you to set graphics configuration settings for modern systems for both The Sims 2 and SimCity 4. We're going to use it for The Sims 2. I want you to download it, I want you to install it, and I want you to make sure that it's on your computer. When you have it installed on your computer and you can bring it up, then we're already a step ahead and we can move on. In your main Sims 2 directory, whether that be the Sims 2 Mansion and Garden Stuff folder or your SP9 folder if you're running the Ultimate Collection, you might have your exe in the CS bin folder. If you've watched the Jessa channel's video, she explains how the 4GB patch sometimes doesn't work, and the way to fix that is to put the exe for the game in the Sims CS bin folder as here. As shown here, mine is in the CS bin folder, and that's the one that I have been using so far. If you moved the exe straight from the TS bin folder to the CS bin folder and there is not an exe of the game in the TS bin folder, when you try to run the graphics rules maker, it will say cannot find game application. This is easy fix. All you have to do is copy exe and keep a copy of it in the TS bin folder, even if you're using the one exclusively in the CS bin folder, as we just need this exe in here for the graphics rules maker to run properly, which is shown here. Game found, video card, database loaded. We're good to go. So now that we've gotten this far and I've explained all of the necessaries that you have to have before we go through with this process, I'm going to move on. We're going to go through with the patch itself in order to fix this goddamn game. Here, the main thing that we need that is responsible for fixing this game is a DirectX wrapper called dgVoodoo 2. It is made by a user named Dege that's on the Vaughn's forums online. If that's not how you pronounce your name, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to keep it that way for ease sake. He's made a wrapper that converts glide and DirectX calls from DirectX 1 through 8 and converted them into modern calls that modern systems can understand, such as Windows 7, because Windows 7 uses DirectX 11, Windows 10 uses DirectX 12, and this is a great revelation for old-time gamers that love playing old games on modern-end systems. I can use dgVoodoo to play games like Test Drive 6, Tomb Raider, Hydro Thunder, Bejeweled, and etc. in high graphics resolution, which is amazing because that's what I want. For now, I want you to download dgVoodoo. Download dgVoodoo version 2.62. This is the latest stable version as shown on the website, released September 15th of this year, which is 2019. And I want you to download 2.62. Do not download 2.61. 2.61 has D3D9 support, but there's a polygon bug that causes the game to have exploding polygons that Dege had to fix, and there was also an internal shader code bug that caused it to crash whenever the game would try to load up any sort of 3D graphics rendering. So, and in any older version other than 2.61 does not have D3D9 support, so obviously you want to use dgVoodoo version 2.62. Once you have downloaded that, open the file, which is a zip file, and you'll get these files. And because it's WinRAR, it has a thing right here talking about it, and it shows that it supports DirectX 9, which is what we want. And now we're that far in the process, copy dgvoodoo.conf and dgvoodoo.cpl.exe to the main folder. Open up the ms folder in the zip file, and then open up the x86 folder in the zip file, and copy all of these DLLs over to the csbin folder. You'll notice if you open the x64 file, there's a D3D9 file by itself in that folder. Do not use that file. Copy the D3D9 file from the x86 folder, because despite the fact that we're running a 64-bit machine, The Sims 2 is a 32-bit application. Because of that, it has to use 32-bit modules, such as these DLLs right here, in order to properly run the game. If you use the x64 D3D9 file in here, the game won't recognize it because it doesn't know what it's not designed to run on a 64-bit platform. It is a 32-bit application. It will completely ignore it, and it will act as if dgVoodoo is not even in the computer. That we've gotten that far, you can open up the dgVoodoo CPL file in here. You can open up the control panel, and this is the dgVoodoo 2 control panel, where you can set all of your settings for dgVoodoo 2 before running the game. Make sure that your config folder is set to your main file where your exe is located. In this case, it's a csbin folder. This is because the game is going to use the configuration folder that's in here, and we need that for a specific portion of running dgVoodoo 2 with this game. Make sure it's set to that folder. If you've got that done, we can move on. Make sure to set your adapter to your main video card. Sometimes people will run like multiple GPUs on their computer, like their Intel graphics and then their dedicated GPU. Just make sure to set that to your dedicated GPU so that you don't get like hard conflicts and you're not trying to run The Sims 2 on shitty Intel graphics. And you can set your full screen output to display on a certain display if you're running a multi-monitor setup like I am. But as far as that goes, you're pretty much good. Leave it in full screen. You can run it in window mode, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Scaling mode, leave this as unspecified. If you set it to a certain thing, it will break the game. The game does not know how to properly handle scaling within an outside external wrapper source, as I like to put it. So leave that alone. It will ruin your game if you set it otherwise. Just leave it as unspecified. I set inherit color profile in full screen mode here checked, because I have custom color settings for my computer in my NVIDIA control panel, and if I don't have that checked, it will reset them when I run the game, and it's annoying. Just keep that checked. It saves you problems. Then we can go to the DirectX tab. This is not a Glide application, so this tab does not matter. We can go in here, see the video card right here. We've got a list of different video cards. I want you to set it to the virtual 3D accelerated card and set the VRAM to 2048 megabytes. This is the graphics wrapper in dgVoodoo 2 that we're going to use for this game. You could set the texture filtering to force anisotropic 16x because trilinear filtering is fucking god awful. Why the hell would you want to run that now? That's horrible. If you use force anisotropic 16x, it's not that heavy of a GPU hungry sort of graphics parameter, and you'll thank yourself later for having this set up. You can force anti-aliasing too. The game is kind of wonky about that, and I haven't properly been able to try to get anti-aliasing forced even through the NVIDIA control panel, so just leave that alone. Leave the resolution unforced. As I said, it breaks the game when you try to force it, and everything else here is good to go. We can hit apply, we can hit OK, and now that our control panel settings are set up properly to run with this game. You can load up, you can double click the dgVoodoo.conf file, open it up in Notepad. It is a text-based config file for dgVoodoo 2, and part of the fix is included in this file. So we can scroll down. Under a section called General EXD, there is an entry that says Enable GDI Hooking. We want to set this to true. As you can see here, it says if enabled, then dgVoodoo hooks GDI to be able to render graphical contents rendered through GDI. Sims 2 is one of those that uses GDI, so we're going to set this to true. And we can scroll down to DirectX External right here. As you can see, there are a bunch of empty entries right here. They say adapter ID type, vendor ID, device ID, etc. If you try to run the game now, as we had just set up, and you try to run The Sims 2, the game will force itself to run in software mode. The reason why is because when it runs, it doesn't know what the hell the virtual 3D card that dgVoodoo uses is. It will probably recognize your graphics card, but when you open the log file after running it, it will say card not found in database in caps, and that's because it doesn't know what this kind of video card is. So the game forces itself to run in software rendering mode. This is where the graphics rules maker comes in. Open up your graphics rules maker. As you can see here, this is a rules maker. We can set our graphics settings, set the default resolution to my native resolution, which is 1440p. Set some fixes. If you're using an AMD card, you can check this 700 series recognition thing if you're running a 700 series AMD card. High quality and Intel graphics. Whatever. Set that stuff. You can also set the force texture memory to 2048 megabytes. I am doing this specifically. If you have watched other tutorials on the graphics rules maker, you will probably know that they always tell you to open the DirectX diagnostic tool, which is dxdiag.exe, and go to your display settings and use the approximate total memory as shown here. For me, it is 27,490 megabytes, which is 27 gigabytes because I'm using 12 gigs of VRAM, or 11,127 to be specific, and a shared memory, and that's the both of those combined. We want to use 2,448 megabytes as shown here because that's the max amount of memory that the internal 3D card in the dgVoodoo wrapper can use. So that's what we're going to set it to act as a sort of limit for the memory. Save the files. It will say the files have been saved. You can now run your game using these new settings. Then open the device info tab. As you can see here, we have the device, vendor ID, and device ID. And this is what we're going to be putting into our config file so that the game can properly recognize the card and run it using the graphics card and properly launch it in hardware rendering mode. So we're going to set my adapter ID type to NVIDIA. You could set it to AMD or Intel depending on what kind of graphics adapter you have. Since mine is an NVIDIA, we're going to set it to NVIDIA. And then we're going to put in vendor ID, shown here, which is 0x10DE, and the device ID, which is 0x1B06. And That's pretty much all you have to do. You can leave these subsystem and renvision IDs empty because the game doesn't need those to properly recognize it. In the game files, only the device ID and vendor ID are specified, so as long as you've got these, you'll be fine. And the game will properly recognize your graphics card and run it in hardware rendering mode. We're going to save the conf file, exit the configuration file. We're going to exit the graphics rules maker. So we've gotten this far in the process, and we're going to move on to one last final step. What you have to do is go into the Sims 2 Mansion and Garden Stuff main directory, whether that be your Mansion and Garden Stuff folder or your SP9 folder if you're running the Ultimate Collection. Go into TS Data, Res, Config, and you'll see two files called Graphics Rules and Video Cards. If you open the Graphics Rules file, which is an SGR file with Notepad, you can see here that it's been edited as it says Graphics Rules Maker Tweak Force Memory Size Set Texture Memory to 2048. That is setting the max texture memory the game recognizes to 2048 megabytes, and so that's good. And then we can also do the same with the video cards.sgr file. And scroll down, and as you can see here, my GTX 1080 Ti is properly put in here. And so we've obviously done our job, and everything's good to go. Take the graphics rules.sgr and the video cards.sgr files, copy them, and paste them into the csconfig folder right here. You can make backups of the one in the csconfig folder just to be safe, but you want to overwrite the ones in here so that the game knows to use explicitly those settings so that there isn't any conflict as far as certain parameters goes, and that everything runs okay. Now that we've done all of that, we have a proper fix that is going to fix this game and properly run it properly. We're going to launch The Sims 2 and see how it goes. As you can see, it's properly running, thanks to the fact that the dgVoodoo logo has popped up right here. If this is not popping up and you have it set in your control panel, it means it's not working. Here we're going to take a few minutes to wait for the game to load, because as you know, people that have played The Sims know that these games take a really long time to load, and it's fucking annoying. Luckily my computer's fast enough to load it, and we've got all of our neighborhoods located right here. I already have a lot in a family made in Bella Della Cove, so we're going to load that one and show you how this all works. As you can see, everything is displayed properly. The game's running maxed out in 1440p resolution with all settings enabled, using shaders and bump mapping and all that fun stuff. As you can see here, with our tiny interface, we have The Sims 2 loaded. Now, I can open up my graphics settings, show you here, have it set to 1440p resolution, high, reflections on, smooth edges set to more despite it being weird and not working like it's supposed to, and all of that. The game has a max refresh rate of 100 Hz, that's why 99 is the max set option and you can't go any higher. I have a 144 Hz monitor. It does this on purpose. This game, all my lot view options are set to max. Now if you notice, with dgVoodoo 2, if you try to like load a family or what up, you'll see all these thumbnails are showing up as being red. Now, not pink, but they're red, but they appear like they are pink, like they would if it was pink with a pink flashing issue. And this is just a thumbnail generation issue. I don't know why it's happening. I can't specify exactly what's going on, but I do know that this game works and it properly runs. We're going to go into the Create a Family screen, and I'm going to load up a random sim just to show you that it's just a thumbnail issue and it's not the game. So enter blah blah blah, Gonna be your last name for the 2 seconds I show you. And as you can see, this random sim just popped up and everything looks perfectly fine. Zoom in on her face, change her face. Nothing noticeable happening. I'm gonna cancel and go back to the neighborhood. Now that we're back in the neighborhood, I'm gonna load up my lot. I've made a Lorenzo family that I've been playing with a little bit. As you can see, the thumbnail shows up like this. But if we load up the lot, wait for the lot to load up, you'll see that everything works perfectly fine and that the game is properly running. As you can see here, all my Sims thumbnails are showing up properly in here. All my graphics are showing up properly. None of the Sims are glitching. None of the objects are glitching. I have max anisotropic filtering so the textures are clear. My Sims are showing up properly. Everything's working. Shadows are on too, as well as awesome lighting options and everything that make this game the way that it was meant to be played. As you can see, everything is perfectly in working order. It's my Sim here. Antonio goes to play on the computer. Leia is about to wake up. Miranda's taking a bath. And voila. There you have it. The Sims 2 working on Windows 10 perfectly fine, thanks to the fix that we've applied, without any issues in order. Now you see that this game works. I'm gonna exit out the game. And that's gonna be the end of that. So, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or something's not working like it's supposed to or whatnot, leave a comment in the description. I'll try to get to it when I can. I'll leave the links to the Just a Channel video and another pink flashing issue video that gives you some info on the pink flashing issue and why it's occurring and whatnot, if you want to look at those videos before to see what's actually going on here with The Sims 2. But otherwise, thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, like it. If you liked my channel, subscribe. I'm going to self-promote here because that's a typical YouTuber thing to do. But if you like my videos, subscribe, of course. And I upload certain OST, game OST shit on my Ray Tracer channel. I also have another channel named Visual Keys, which is my musician alias where I make electronic music and post my songs up and shit there. So if you like electronic music and are willing to hear all kinds of different shit, check out that channel. I've got cool shit there. Even though right now I have only like 3 videos, but there'll be more songs there soon enough. But thank you for watching this video again for the 3rd time, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.